Here's one of the most important events in history, and almost no one knows about it. This was the first black woman to publish a novel in the United States, and nobody noticed. Her name was Harriet E. Wilson, and if you've never heard of her, that's kind of the point. Hi, I'm Chris, and I bring you the stories that make you change the way you think about pretty much everything. What other lesser-known stories do you want to have more light on? Drop them in the comments. Harriet was born around 1825 in Milford, New Hampshire. Slavery was already illegal there, but racism was very much alive. Her mother was white and her father was black, and when Harriet was still a child, her mother died and her father disappeared. She was left all alone. Instead of being taken in or protected, Harriet was bound out as an indentured servant to a white family. She was a child, but she worked, she cooked, she cleaned, and labored through the years when she should have been in school. That experience never really left her. When her indenture ended, she was technically free, but freedom in the North didn't mean security. She was poor, mixed race, and a woman with no safety net. She took whatever work she could find, mostly domestic labor and sewing, just to survive. In the 1850s, she married a man named Thomas Wilson, and they had a son, George. For a moment, it must have felt like life might finally stabilize. Then Thomas left. No explanation, no support, just gone. George was often sick, and Harriet was stuck in an impossible position. She needed to work constantly to earn money, but her son needed care she could barely afford. And in the middle of all that, she made a decision that was both desperate and brave. She wrote a book. In 1859, Harriet published a novel called Our Nig. It was loosely based on her own life and followed a mixed-race girl forced into servitude in a northern white household. The book made a point that many white readers were deeply uncomfortable with. Racism wasn't just a southern problem. Slavery was not the only form of oppression. Even in free states, black children were exploited and abused. This was a message no one wanted to buy. The book did not sell well at all, and the money Harriet hoped would help save her son never came. George died not long after, still a child. After that, Harriet more or less disappeared from history. She continued living in Massachusetts, remarried, worked whatever job she could find, and remained poor. When she died in 1900, there was no recognition that she had ever written anything at all. Her novel faded into obscurity, sitting quietly in a small handful of libraries for decades. Then in the early 1980s, literary scholar Henry Louis Gates Jr. came across a reference to Our Nig and started asking questions. Who wrote it? Was it really fiction? And was the author actually black? Through painstaking research, he reconstructed Harriet's life and confirmed what history had overlooked. Our Nig was a novel, and Harriet E. Wilson was the first black woman to publish one in the United States. More than a century after she wrote it, her voice was finally heard. Today, her work is studied and recognized for what it was always meant to be, a clear-eyed indictment of American racism that did not stop at the Mason-Dixon line. But she never knew. She died thinking her voice had failed. It hadn't. It just took a century for America to listen.